Last night, the Mankato City Council voted on a resolution on federal immigration enforcement. Most notably, the city and its employees will not enforce or support federal immigration laws.
Kate Jones has the details.
To have a discussion about the status of the emergency ordinance that we have in place and feedback on decisions about should it become permanent.
And they decided it will be permanent. Mankato City Council approved the resolution regarding changes to the emergency ordinance for immigration enforcement. The council adopted the ordinance back in February, but it was set to expire later this month. Now they are allowing the emergency ordinance to sunset and in turn have created long-term policies.
The second whereas talks about that the city does not conduct immigration enforcement and that its officials and employees shall not enforce federal immigration law or support federal immigration enforcement unless we're forced to by law. It also indicates that the city shall not enter into an agreement to conduct with the federal government to conduct federal immigration enforcement or participate in any way.
The city will also not allow data from body cameras or the automatic license plate readers to be shared.
And that data is very regulated by the Minnesota Governmental Data Practices Act and generally is considered private data.
However, this ordinance could receive federal backlash.
We could be up to be sued by the federal government if we go through with doing this again, correct?
Yes, if you were to put that emergency language in, in either another emergency ordinance or in permanent policy, the likelihood is high.
And if we were sued, where would that money come from?
The taxpayers.
Moving forward, the City Council will be able to modify the resolution as advised by the city manager and attorney. Kate Jones, KEYC News Now.
The Public Safety Committee will be reviewing the Mankato Police immigration enforcement policies before the September council meeting for any adjustments that need to be made.